The rain pattered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of his office, each drop echoing the emptiness Jungkook felt in his chest. 6 months. It had been 6 months since you left, and the pain hadn't dulled, even slightly. When will you come back, Ryan? He whispered to the empty room, his fingers tracing the edge of his desk where your nameplate used to sit. Secretary, such a simple word for someone who had meant everything. Jungkook leaned back in his leather chair and closed his eyes, letting the memories wash over him like a tide. He couldn't resist. The office felt hollow without you. His new secretary was efficient, professional, but she wasn't you. She didn't know that he preferred his coffee reheated after exactly 15 minutes. She didn't leave little sticky notes with encouraging messages on particularly difficult days. She didn't make his heart race every time she walked into the room. He picked up his phone for the 100th time that day, scrolling through your old messages. He hadn't deleted a single one. They were all he had left of you. Working late again? Don't forget to eat. Wine. The meeting went well. I'm proud of you, Wine. Good morning. Coffee is ready. When you are. Wine. Each message was a dagger to his heart. He had read them so many times. He had them memorized, torturing himself with what he had lost. 3 years ago, you had walked into his office for the first time, nervous, clutching your portfolio, your eyes bright with determination. He had barely looked up from his computer, still the cold, distant CEO. Mr. John, I'm Ryan, your new secretary, you had said, your voice steady despite your obvious nerves. He had given you a curt nod, nothing more. Back then he was still broken, still haunted by the women. He had sworn never to let anyone close again. His employees called him the Ice King behind his back. He knew and didn't care. But you were different. You didn't push, didn't pry. You simply did your job with quiet efficiency and unexpected kindness. You learned how he took his coffee black, 2 sugars always hot. You remembered which clients annoyed. When he snapped at you on particularly stressful days, you never took it personally, just gave him space and came back with solutions instead of problems. Slowly, imperceptibly, you had begun chipping away at the ice around his heart. 6 months into your employment, something shifted. He had been working on a particularly difficult merger, stress eating away at him, when you had quietly, "What is this?" he had asked, barely glancing up. "Homemade soup. You have been living on coffee and stress for 3 days. You need real food." He had looked up then, really looked at you, and for the first time in 5 years, he had felt something warm in his chest. "You made this? It's nothing special, just eat it before it gets cold." You had struck a slight blush coloring your cheeks. That soup had been the best thing he had tasted in years, not because of the recipe, but because someone had cared enough to make it for him. It took 2 years before he realized he was smiling again. Really smiling, not the practiced corporate smile he wore for board meetings. It happened when you laughed at something ridiculous he had said, your whole face lighting up, and he had felt something shift inside him. He had started finding excuses to keep you late at the office. "Ryan, can you review these contracts? Ryan, I need your opinion on this presentation. Ryan, let's discuss the quarterly reports over dinner." The last one had slipped out before he could stop it, and he had frozen, waiting for you to decline professionally. Instead, you had smiled that beautiful, genuine smile that made his world brighter. "I would like that, Mr. John." "Jungkook," he corrected softly. "When it's just us, call me Jungkook." The third year, you had both stopped dating. Late nights at the office became charged with electricity. Brushing hands became lingering touches, stolen glances across the conference room became heated looks that made his blood sing. And one evening, when everyone else had gone home and the city lights glittered below them, he had finally said the words he had been holding back. I love you. You had been filling documents and you had frozen, your hands suspended in the midair. Slowly you turned to face him, eyes wide with surprise and something that looked like hope. Jungkook, I know I'm your boss. I know this is complicated. I know I had no right to ask this of you. His voice had been raw with emotion as he crossed the office to stand in front of you. But I can't keep pretending. I don't feel this way. You brought me back to life, Vine. You made me believe in love again when I thought I'd forget in love. Your eyes had filled with tears. I love you too. I have loved you for so long. I can't even remember when it started. Your answer had been a kiss that made his entire world realign. He had cubed your face in his hands, tasting the salt of your happy tears, feeling like he could finally breathe. You had kept your relationship secret. After that night, both agreeing that the office didn't need to know yet. You stole moments between meetings, sharing quiet dinner at his apartment, building a life together in the shadows. It was perfect. You were perfect. Every morning when you walked into his office with his coffee, he had pulled you close for a quick kiss. Everything when you left for your apartment, he took all his willpower not to beg you to stay. Move in with me, he had said one night. 3 moments into your relationship, you were curled upon his couch, your head on his shoulder, and he couldn't imagine letting you leave again. Jungkook, people will talk. Let them talk. He had turned to face you, his expression serious. I don't care what anyone thinks. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to come home to you every night. Please, Wine, say yes. You had kissed him instead of answering, and the next week your toothbrush appeared in his bathroom. Then came the company anniversary party. It was the biggest event of the year, held at a luxury hotel with hundreds of guests. Champagne flowed freely and the air buzzed with celebration. He wore a midnight blue dress that took his breath away, and every time he looked at you, you were staring. You had whispered when you passed him to refill the champagne glasses. I can't help it. You're stunning. Professional, Mr. John, you had teased, but your eyes had darkened with want. Leave with me, he had murmured. Please, I can't wait any longer. When you finally made it back to his mansion, inhibitions lowered by alcohol and want, you had both given in to everything you had been holding back. His hands had trembled as he had your dress, and you had whispered his name like a prayer. That night had been everything. Neither of you spoke about it the next day. Jungkook, the usually composed and confident CEO, avoided you for days, unsure of how to deal with what had happened. He had always been afraid of feeling too much of loving again, but he had let his guard down with you. But that fear of vulnerability was nothing compared to the crushing pain that awaited him when you left. You had always been someone who kept a strong front. You had learned to do so after your parents' divorce, after a difficult childhood, but Jungkook, he was different. He made you feel safe, loved in a way you hadn't known you needed it. But everything changed one day when you went to his mansion after he had called in sick. Yes, after party incident, you went to your apartment and staying there. You had heard the exhaustion in his voice, and as his secretary and girlfriend, you wanted to help. You made your way to his palace, tablets and warm food in hand, ready to take care of him. But when you arrived, you froze at the sight. There, in his bed, was Jungkook, But he wasn't alone. His ex-girlfriend, the one he had always talked about with such bitterness, was lying beside him. The sight of them together felt like a betrayal. You had never felt so devastated. He had told you he was sick, that he didn't want to see anyone. You thought the worst when you saw him with her, his ex, the woman who had left him 5 years ago, and now you felt like an absolute fool for trusting him. The words you sent him that night were short, but they cut through everything. I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving. Goodbye. You also sent your resignation letter knowing you couldn't continue working for him. Everything you had felt for him seemed like a lie, and so you felt packing your life and disappearing from Seoul, moving far away in an attempt to heal from heartbreak. Jungkook had been devastated. He searched for you, hoping you would come back. That maybe, just maybe, he could explain, but you were gone. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, and still he couldn't find you. It hurt more than anything he had ever felt, and he couldn't help but wonder if he had ruined the one good thing in his life. 6 months had passed since your sudden disappearance from Seoul. Life had continued, but for Jungkook it felt like a never-ending ache. Every corner of his apartment reminded him of you. Every corner of his office felt empty without you there to fill it with your light. He hadn't been able to focus on work. His once structured life had fallen apart without you in it. And no matter how many distractions he tried, new projects, dinners with clients, he couldn't stop thinking about you. Every single day he thought about the love you shared, about the last words he had said to you, words that were not enough to explain the truth behind what happened that night with his ex. Jungkook had tried to move on, but the moment he thought he realized that there would never be anyone else. No one could compare to you. One afternoon, after another long day of meetings, Jungkook found himself walking into a coffee shop to grab a drink. He wasn't expecting to see you. He didn't even know where to look anymore. But then his eyes landed on you. There you were sitting at a table laughing with a client. Your belly, your beautiful baby bump was unmistakable. His heart stopped. You looked happy, so different from the broken woman who had left him. And in that moment he couldn't help but think you had moved on, that maybe you were married, maybe to the man who was sitting across from you now. His thoughts raced and he had to hold himself back from walking over to you. The sight of you made his chest tighten, but he needed answers. He needed to know why you had left. You, on the other hand, had been standing in front of the mirror that morning, caressing your baby bump. You hadn't expected to ever think about Jungkook again. You thought you had healed, but every so often a memory would sneak in. His love, his touch, the way he had made you feel loved when no one else had. You had tried to move on, but it wasn't easy. You hadn't expected to see him here, not after everything that had happened, but there he was standing frozen in the doorway, his gaze locked on you. You tried to remain calm, finishing up your meeting as best you could. The awkwardness hung in the air as you excused yourself. Sir, you said, your voice tight. I will take leave now. I'll email you the reports later. It took everything in you to not run away, but he followed you outside. His footsteps hurried. Van, he said, his voice low, filled with longing and regret. Please, can we talk? You stopped in your tracks, your heart racing. What's there to talk about? You said softly, not meeting his eyes. I need to know why you left, Jungkook said, his voice cracking. Please just tell me. Jungkook waltzed as you turned to face him. Your face was no longer the girl he once knew. There was a maturity to you now, a calm confidence. He could see it in the way you carried yourself, the way you spoke. You had grown, and it broke his heart. I left because of you said quietly, because of what I saw that day at your apartment. I thought you were still in love with her. I thought I was nothing but a replacement for the woman who left you 5 years ago. Jungkook's eyes widened and he stepped closer to you, the distance between you two growing smaller. No one, you're wrong, he said urgently. She showed up uninvited. She was begging for money, telling me she couldn't pay her rent. I didn't want her there. I didn't even want to see her. I tried to send her away. My chef ordered her juice, thinking she was a guest. I had a headache, so I went to my bedroom to grab some cash to get rid of her. He took a breath, looking at you with pained eyes, but then she came in with the juice, and I was already disoriented. I drank it, and that's when everything went blurry. She took advantage of me one, took photos of us, and threatened me for money. I had no idea until I woke up, and I immediately got rid of everything. I destroyed the photos. I have been trying to find you to tell you the truth. Please believe me. Yes, he was telling the truth that day. It was your mistake to leave early without knowing the truth. You were stunned, your hands trembling as the truth sank in. All the assumptions you had made, all the pain you had carried with you, it all felt so different now. Jungkook's sincerity was clear, and it pierced through the anger and hurt you had been holding on to. For the first time in months, you allowed yourself to feel the hope rising again. Maybe, just maybe, you could start over. I didn't know, you whispered, your voice breaking. I didn't know it was like that. Jungkook reached for your hands, holding them tightly. Please let me prove it to you. Let me show you how much I love you. You and our baby. I'm sorry for everything. I'll make it right. You looked at him, and for the first time in a long time, you saw the man you had once loved so deeply. The walls in your heart began to crumble as you whispered, I want to believe you, Jungkook. He smiled, a mix of relief and joy crossing his face. We can start fresh together, no more secrets, just us. And in that moment, with everything laid bare, you knew that, even though it hadn't been easy, the love you once shared with Jungkook was still there. It had never truly disappeared. And so, after months of pain and separation, you found your way back to each other. No more lies, no more misunderstandings, just a new beginning, built on the truth, the love, and the family you were about to create together. Thank you for watching.